that what usually happens, the show doesn't come off very well. Nikki begins to think life doesn't treat Nikki right. Nikki decides to exert himself more. Nikki becomes, on the next occasion, still more demanding or gracious, as the case may be. Still, the play does not suit Nikki. Admitting Nikki may be somewhat at fault, Nikki is sure that other people are more to blame. I mean, does this describe us? It's so cool. Nikki becomes angry, indignant, self-pitying. What's Nikki's basic trouble? Is Nikki not really a self-seeker, really, when he's trying to be kind? It keeps coming down to me. It keeps coming down to selfishness. It keeps coming down to my delusion of control of others. This is all playing God, right? If I think I have any control over anything in my life, I'm deluded. Control is a complete delusion over anything, right? I make a choice to seek God every day. I make a choice to kneel before him. I make a choice to pray, to meditate. I make a choice, and that's it. That's the ABCs. That's all I have to do is make a decision, right? Being convinced. Being convinced of what? That I'm a junkie. That I'm a drunk. That I'm an asshole. That I'm a liar. That I'm scared, right? The big fear, right? That controls all alcoholics, all of humanity, actually. I mean, our biggest core issue is always fear, right? We're scared of everything and everybody on our own power. So if we start to tap into this, if I make a decision, that's all I have to do. I got to get out of God's way. Whatever that looks like for everybody. You know, I always say there's as many people are on this planet, that's how many relationships there are with God. Right? That's the difference of what we do here compared to a church and religious ideology. Right? I'm never going to tell you. If you tell me God told you something, I'm all ears. That's not up to me. Maybe we need to tweak the relationship a little bit or get a little closer to him, but that's what you believe today, then that's okay. That's good enough. You made a decision to tap into something other than you. That's playing God. That's the essence of step 3, right? So having made this decision and looking at all this stuff and me suiting the show and arranging the lights and being the director and starting to get out of my own way, get out of God's way, we move into 4. We move into the inventory, right? So we look at the big one, right? Resentments. Kills more other alcoholics than anything else, right? Most of us, when you get that first assignment, right, to start writing the first column, our network does a 4-column inventory, and we look at fear. I mean, we look at resentment, then fear, then harms, then the sex inventory. We're half deluded into thinking we don't have a resentment, right? Like they say, I'm not mad at anybody. It's all my fault. Okay, start writing, brother. Right? There's something magical that happens when you put pen to paper. It just works that way. You could text all you want, but when you focus and sit down and start writing, man, that pen just starts flying and pages start getting filled out, and you take a good hard look, right? A resentment was explained to us that, you feel the same feelings when you think about that episode. That's a resentment. So if I think about Joe not showing up, right, for Big Book, right? And the next day I'm thinking about Joe not showing up for Big Book, and I get that same thing. I need to write about that, right? This is a bad example, but it's, you guys know what I mean, right? And
Does that happen?
no, that's what I mean. It's a bad example. He's never not showing. He actually doesn't know when to leave. That's the issue. That's a joke.
I get it.
So, so the inventory process, man, it's just magical. I mean, obviously we're running out of time here, but I encourage, like Joe said, find somebody that's done this work, right? That I always say, the directions clear cut in step 12, having had a spiritual awakening as the result. Millions of things happen, but you're guaranteed one result from doing this work. Spiritual awakeness, right? I did not know. I love this one. I did not know I was asleep until I woke up. Think about it. When you go to sleep at night, when you wake up in the morning, you realize that you were sleeping, right? So you don't know you're sleeping until you're awake. So that's the guarantee of the steps. The result is spiritual awakeness. So if you pose that question like Joe posed it to somebody that you meet, that you think you want to go through the work with, and you ask them, listen, have you had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps? And they don't know what the hell you're talking about? Run. Drop what you're doing, run. Leave quickly, because you're going to get their ideas of what that means, right? It's all right here, man. It's clear cut. I know I've been called a big book thumper like it's some kind of a derogatory term, and it's just funny, man, because this is what saved my life. This gave me the answers that I didn't even know that I needed, right? It gave me the answers of what I was looking for, but it also answered questions that I didn't even know I had, because I stayed around long enough and kept searching and kept doing the work and kept doing this inventory, right, as we carry through it. And then step 5, I mean, Joe could tell you his experience. We've had some really, really good ones. Actually, there's somebody in this room now that has the record. We had a, 17-hour step 5.
Step 5 for me is like a lesson in humility, right? It's like, would you want somebody with a camera walking around with you every day, watching everything you do, right? So, like, that's the feeling I get. That's the feeling I got before I started talking about, you know, what I wrote down in step 4. And what Nikki's told me in step 4, which really made it easy for me to start writing, is like, listen, man, this is not about how bad you are, right? This is not about like beating yourself up here. You look at this, man, and this is the best that you could do without God in your life, whatever that looks like for you, right? That personal relationship you have with God, and that you're building with God. This step 4 is the best that you could do. This is before, you know, you turned your will over. This is before your step 3. This is the best you could do without God in your life, man. You know, and that made it cool for me, because I was like, wow, you know what? I didn't have any guidance. I did not have a design for living. I was running on my own power, and my own power got me to where I was. It wasn't my plan to drink myself into an AA meeting. I don't think it was anybody's plan here to drink ourselves into an AA meeting, right? What levels the playing field is that we're all sitting here for one reason or another. Because alcohol caused problems in our life, whether it was from somebody else or whether it was from me. Alcohol caused problems in my life. And you know, step 5, like I said, you know, admitting that, it's like, if I care enough about you and I have enough money and you have a debt to pay, I could pay your debt, right? And I could wash away that. Or some people have even gone to jail for people, right? They've done their time for them. But I can't take away the responsibility of that. I have to own that shit. Like, I have to own it. What step 5 did for me was it made me own who I was and what I did by admitting it to another human being and to God. You know, I could, like I said, you know, someone could pay my debt and someone could do time for me, but they're not responsible for what I did. I am responsible for what I did, and I have to own that, right? And then we move into step 6 and 7.
Right, so
anything you want to add?
Yeah, good step 5. Really, you pull a lot of things out of 5, right? That I mean, we could talk for the rest of our lives on this stuff. So just real quick, setting up for 6 and 7, when you're going through your 5 and looking at this inventory and the best that you could do without a God in your life, and the mistakes that you made and the people that you hurt, and you know, several things now in the next steps come out of that inventory, right? So 5 will show you first now what's become objectionable to you. That's what it says in 6, right? So as you're going through your 5, you have these common things as you're checking it off, right? The jealousy, the fear, the harms to others, all these things that now you don't live that way anymore. So if you've gotten through the inventory process, you've now learned what your life looks like without God and what you don't want to do anymore. And ultimately what you don't do anymore. Those are the objectionabilities. Those common themes of those mistakes that we make over and over and over and over and over again without having to go to power, right? Without having HP. So in 6, it's very easy to look at this stuff. You know, Peggy and I were talking before that this is only 2 paragraphs. You could speak on 6 and 7 at every meeting for the rest of your life because it's so powerful, right? That you pulled this stuff out of all your writing and that you're showing this stuff. And also out of your inventory comes your step 8, right? Your amends list comes right out of this. Your harms to others and your sex inventory and what you're about to do. So, you know, there's a whole ton of directions in here on 4 and how vehement of an inventory you have to make in order to progress into 5, 6, and 7, and ultimately 8 and 9, right? So the objectionabilities are the lying, right? The cheating, the stealing. Like if you're at that point, you're not living that way anymore. So this stuff's easy to ask God to remove. So in 7, when ready, we said something like this. Now that, believe it or not, that just hit me like not even a year ago, right? I just picked up, I had a 3rd edition on my dresser, and it was one morning I was doing my prayers, and I said, I haven't looked at the 3rd edition that has been sitting there for a while, and I opened it right to step 7, right? Which is, 72? Is that right? Did I guess that right? Nope. 76?
77, right?
76, sorry, it's 6 and 7, right? So I opened it. That book is not highlighted. Like, this is what our network books look like. Highlighted, underlined, circled, considerations. As we're going through, we ask a lot of questions and a lot of considerations step by step. But I picked up this 3rd edition off my shelf and opened right to page 76, and it looked like when ready was highlighted. And there's nothing written in that book. Like, here was another God shot, right? And I was like, wow, how did I never see that when ready? So I said, well, obviously, I'm ready to start looking at this, right? And this is just recent, right? So my Creator, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray you now remove from me every single defective character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. And Joe and I had that moment a couple weeks ago, right, where the prayer ends here. It starts in 3, the 3rd step prayer, and there's no amen there. And at the end of 7, amen. So be it. That's what amen means. So I went from 3 to 7, through the inventory, through the process, praying the whole time, and now, so be it. Amen. And that brings us to 8, right? We got time?
No, we could stop.
Okay.
Let's honor the
Right, okay, so it's 8:30. So.
Sorry, I didn't quite have it.